Hey, math teachers, I want to record a separate video for you guys and send it out to you so you wouldn't have to scroll through an hour and 8 minutes worth of stuff to find the little math portion that I have in my ELD workshop video I sent the other day. First of all, I have such respect for you guys. I really do. My wife was a math teacher, middle school math teacher, and I, to a point, understand the struggles, how difficult it is to teach math. So I legitimately have such high respect for math teachers. So thank you guys for doing everything you do. And I'm 100% pro math teacher for sure. I wanted to share some ELD strategies that I read, and I want to make it clear that I read these because I'm not a math teacher, and I sometimes, when people who are not educators or teachers come in and tell people how to teach their specific content, and it's like, well, you're not in the classroom with us, so I don't know if I can apply that as much as you want me to. So I'm telling you, I read these from a neuroscientist. I actually got it from this book right here, How the ELL Brain Learns by Dr. David Sousa. I don't think he's a full-time educator. I think he may teach a couple college classes. But I'm saying that with the preface of like, here's his suggestions from a neuroscientist and a psychologist, but there may be some where you go, I can't really do that as far as an in-class teacher. It's not something we can do, but I just wanted to share with you his suggestions. So one of the things he mentioned was he suggested to be consistent with math terms. So his example was, let me present this. His example was an ELD student may be familiar with the term add, but if the questions are written in a confusing way that don't include that term, students may not be able to figure out what it means, or EL students, new students to the language. So here's the same question written many different ways, but none of them contain the word add. So how many do we have in all? How many apples if we combine them? What is the total of both group of apples? How many apples do we have altogether? The first group of apples plus the second group of apples is how many? So if the student knew add, he or she may be able to work the problem. But this becomes now a comprehension of language issue as opposed to a comprehension of math issue. So that was his suggestion, is to try to be consistent with the terms. Simplifying word problems. His example was this, where oftentimes there's a lot of words that an EL student has to get through before the question is asked. So the original problem, his example was, if Peter can type one page of his homework report on his computer in 17 minutes, how much time will it take him to type 3 pages? So he suggested to rewrite the problem to where it puts the question at the beginning. How much time will it take for Peter to type 3 pages? So now the EL student knows what's being asked of him or her, and then the additional information comes. He can type 1 page in 17 minutes. So at least there'll be less language hurdles that a student will have to get through if the question is put front and center. Defining terms in native language. So not just he had an example of trapezoid. He had this long story about how it's not just defining the terms that the students need in English, but if there's a way to be able to define them in the native language, even if it's a handout, native language handout. Translating word problems into the student's native language, maybe having the word problem in a few different languages, whatever languages are represented in your classroom. And we do know that Google Translate doesn't always translate it accurately, but that was a suggestion that he made. And also, so many of you, I know, if you have a Spanish speaker, a beginning ELD student who speaks Spanish, you partner them up with another Spanish speaker who maybe has a better, more knowledge of English to help that native speaker learn math, which is a great suggestion. He supports that 100%. He says it's very important for ELD students to master basic math concepts in their native language. So if an ELD student understands math in their native language, it makes it much easier for the student to be able to understand the math in their new language. And I didn't realize this until I read it, but because we learn as a student is older, they learn second languages with more working memory, memorize words and phrases, and so because of that, that part of the brain is being processed. So they're trying to translate the math using their second language, but that means there's less resources available for higher order problem solving with their brain. So their brain is being taxed. So while they're trying to understand language and translate the language, it'll be more difficult for them to process the math questions. So I didn't realize that until I read that. And the rest, yeah, that's really it. Those are suggestions that he had made. I did want to say one more thing before I end this video. I don't think math and sciences are represented very well at ELD workshops and conferences. I mentioned before that I went to the big ELD conference, and there were 190 workshops, and only 2 were dedicated to math, 2 for science. And both of those were elementary schools. They're focused on elementary schools, nothing about high school. I've been trying to find good math strategies because as the EL coach, I consider myself the EL coach for like all content and not just for English, right? So I'm trying to be able to go out and get some innovative math strategies for ELD. And I say innovative because, we all know the good strategies to teach. Like you guys we're all doing good strategies, right? And people tend to just repeat the same strategies. Okay, so let's get some new stuff, innovative things, like what's out there. And honestly, there's not a lot, especially for math. And anything for math and science tends to be elementary school. I did find a couple programs that are being used in Chula Vista. One's supposed to have like really good success, but again, it's elementary school. One's a middle school program that's been showing some success, but again, it's middle school. So I'll do what I can, everyone. I just want to let you know that I'm going to try to go out and find some great research-based ELD strategies that are innovative, not a repeat of what we've already heard before. So thanks, guys.